Automatic Man. Automatic Man was an American 1970s progressive rock quartet from San Francisco, which also featured elements of funk, space music, psychedelic rock, heavy metal, krautrock, musique concrète, art rock, and Santana-inspired jazz fusion. Automatic Man brought together well-respected musicians of diverse backgrounds within the rock, funk, and jazz communities of the mid-1970s. Despite a well-reviewed 1976 eponymous debut on Island Records and a lone charting single, 1976's My Pearl, which reached No. 97 on the Billboard Hot 100. The lineup of Automatic Man was not cohesive. After a second album entitled Visitors, they disbanded in 1977, retaining a small but very loyal, global cult following, with both releases being reissued on CD in 2004 after 28 years of only being available in vinyl format, and with the advent of the Internet, Automatic Man are being rediscovered and roundly praised for their genre-defying, boundary-breaking musical sound and unique lyrics. Formation. Automatic Man formed in San Francisco around 1975 when drummer Michael Shreve decided to quit Santana to explore other musical avenues. That led him to work with X-Traffic/Spencer Davis group singer/keyboardist Steve Winwood, percussionist Stamu Yamashita, and synthesizer player Klaus Scholz on the Go album, an album of experimental progressive rock that had been released by Island Records a year later. Pat Thrall was approached by Michael Shreve in 1975 to audition for a band he was forming with Todd Cochran. Cochran, then known under the alias of Bate pronounced by Yette, was a child prodigy and formally trained keyboard player who had attended the Trinity College of Music in England as a teen. Cochran had already been part of the jazz scene for nearly a decade, playing with renowned jazz artists Bobby Hutcherson and Julian Priester. He also released 2 jazz-funk solo albums on Prestige Records in 1972. Completing the lineup was bass guitarist Donny Harvey, who performed around the SF/Bay Area with his brothers and in blues, jazz, and soul bands, playing both bass and guitar. According to Harvey's brother Riggy Harvey, Donny joined the band sheerly by chance. During the break we heard a band practicing in the big space. We went in to see who it was. It turned out to be Automatic Man. That night the bass man wasn't working out and stomped out of the room. They spotted Don and asked him to sit in and to finish rehearsing. He stepped up to the plate that night. When they stopped for a break we went back in the small space we were practicing in to finish. During that time, they asked him to join the band. One of the reasons was that he played so well that they were that impressed. The other was that Donny and I had gone to junior college with the keyboard player and main writer Bate at the newly opened Skyline College. Impressing Chris Blackwell, president of Island Records, he signed the band to a 2-record deal. Debut album. Rather than continue to build on their following in the San Francisco/Bay Area, Automatic Man headed for London. Automatic Man made Chelsea's King's Road in London their base of operations, recording at Basing Street Studios, now Sarm West Studios. The self-titled debut album contains a mix of progressive space rock and jazz fusion, with hard guitars and layered synthesizers. Allusions to space travel, Atlantis, astral projection, karma, angels, aliens, belly dancers, and other mystical and exotic subjects are covered on nearly every album track. Cochran wrote the tracks Atlantis Rising Fanfare, Coming Through 1 and 1, Newspapers, Genie Genie, and Turning of the Axis theme from Atlantis Rising. He shares co-writing credits with band manager Lou Casabianca on Automatic Man, Interstellar Tracking Devices, and Right Back Down. The entire band and Casabianca share writing credits on There's a Way. Track listing. All songs written and composed by Todd Cochran as Bate, except as noted. Side 1 Atlantis Rising Fanfare, 137. Common Through 335. My Pearl 3, 34. Automatic Man, 1 and 1 5, 57 T7. Newspapers 357. Genie 532, side 2 right back down 5, 55 bait slash Casabian k. There's a way 5, 14 automatic man slash Casabian k. ITD interstellar tracking devices 5, 14 bait slash Casabian k. Automatic man 355 bait slash Casabian k. Atlantis Rising theme turning of the Axis 316. My Pearl was released with a B-side entitled Wallflower. Personnel on Automatic Man. Pat Thrall guitar vocals, lead vocals on Genie. There's a Way in Automatic Man. Todd Cochran keyboards, vocals, lead vocals on Common Through My Pearl 1 and 1. Newspapers, right back down, There's a Way, ITD interstellar tracking devices. Donny Harvey bass guitar vocals, lead vocals on There's a Way and Automatic Man. Michael Shreve drums produced by Automatic Man and Lou Casabianca. Mixed by Keith Harwood and Chris Kimsey. Album art painted by Bay Area artist Dwayne Zerio 1950-1995. Both front covers of each Automatic Man album feature a simple luminously painted blue alien-like face staring out from space. This alien face was meant to be representative of a human without a body, with just the spiritual energy or aura providing the visual shape. The debut album is blue on blue, while the follow-up features the blue face on a shocking pink and magenta background. The inside liner art of the first album includes the blue face with Egyptian wings floating above a pyramid. The artwork for the My Pearl single featured a woman's face suspended over a misty crevasse crowned with wings and a self-consuming serpentine rainbow. The artwork for both Automatic Man LP covers was entirely original, and one of the first times, possibly the first, that an alien face had been depicted in a mass-market medium. It bears more than a passing resemblance to the alien face which would be seen on countless bumper stickers and decals from the early 1990s onward. In the United Kingdom, the album was championed on BBC Radio 1 by Alan Freeman, who provided a voiceover for adverts for the album transmitted on the UK commercial radio stations. Original lineup dissolves. After their album debut, Automatic Man promoted the disc with appearances at a number of European music festivals, including the prestigious Montreux Jazz Festival in Switzerland. According to a later interview with Thrall, the band had trouble pulling off their material live. Part of the problem was that the technology of the era was too difficult to use live. Shreve, too, would also recall that the band had not had enough chances to play live. The band was also feted by fellow artists and luminaries of the day, including the Rolling Stones and Hunter S. Thompson, who wrote a concert review. Though they would make a few more live appearances in their original Bay Area stomping grounds, infighting, clashes over music, and disagreements over how the band's finances were being directed. This led to Automatic Man's first line-up dissolving after returning to the United States in 1976. Visitors. The second Automatic Man album was entitled Visitors and released in 1977 with a stronger funk and less art rock sound than the first LP. Pete solely wrote each track. Guitarist Pat Thrall was still a member, but Shreve and Harvey were now replaced by bassist Jerome Rimson, also from the Go Project, and drummer Glenn Simmons. Originally from Detroit, Rimson played bass on the track Man from Manhattan, which features on the album Ghost of a Smile, with a pre-Queen Freddie Mercury on piano and vocals and Brian May on guitar. From 1974 he had been musical director for Van Morrison, playing on several tours, and in 1976 he played on the Al Jarreau's Grammy-winning jazz album Glow. Glenn Simmons had been Eddie Money's drummer since 1974, departing to record and tour with ex-Santana percussionist Coke Escovedo. Personnel on Visitors. Pat Thrall guitar, vocals. Todd Cochran keyboards, vocals. Glenn Simmons drums. Jerome Rimson bass, produced by Michael Lloyd. Lionel Conway, executive producer. Bruce Robb, engineer. Lou Casabianca / Glyphix, art direction and album design. Track listing. All songs written and composed by Todd Cochran as Bait. Side 1, Give It To Me 3:49. Live Wire 4:45. So You Wanna Be Me 4:0. Eponymous To Me 4:18. Side 2, Visitors 3:50. Here I Am Now 5:14. There's a Way -4:26. Daughter of Neptune 4:13. What's Done 6:22. Critical reception to Visitors. Band breakup. Partially due to no longer having the name recognition of Shreve, the album failed to make waves in the music press, and Automatic Man permanently disbanded in 1977. Afterward, all four members of the original Automatic Man lineup became prolific and well-respected solo and session musicians, with Shreve and Cochran emerging as sought-after composers and arrangers. Lou Casabianca, the band's manager and co-producer for the first disc, moved into video production and media technology writing. Glenn Simmons and Jerome Rimson, drummer and bassist on Visitors respectively, continued on in the music industry to steady work and success as well, with Rimson writing an autobiography. There has to date been no talk of a possible Automatic Man reunion. Michael Shreve. After leaving Automatic Man, Shreve continued to be one of the most sought-after drummers in the music world. His credits number well into the hundreds and include work on Pete Townshend's 1981 disc, All the Best Cowboys Have Chinese Eyes, and for artists Mick Jagger, The Rolling Stones, George Harrison, Steve Winwood, Police guitarist Andy Summers, film composer Mark Isham, Freddie Hubbard, Jaco Pastorius, Wayne Horvitz, Bill Fry. Michael Shreve also composes music for film and television, working with Paul Mazursky on the film Tempest, and scored music for Curtis Hanson's The Bedroom Window. In the early 1980s, his power pop quartet, Novo Combo, scored minor hits with the songs Periscope and City Bound. A few years later, 1983, Shreve got involved with the power group 8 Sass, featuring Sammy Hagar, Neil Scott of Journey fame, and former bass player from Derringer Kenny Aronson. The group recorded the album Through the Fire and the single A Whiter Shade of Pale, originally written and performed by Procol Harum, peaked at #94 in 1984. Shreve is also the past president of the Pacific Northwest branch of the National Association of Recording Arts and Sciences (NARAS), and is currently writing the memoirs of jazz drumming legend Elvin Jones. He also serves as musical director for Seattle theater group's More Music at the More, a program that highlights gifted young musicians from Seattle's various cultural groups. In 1998, Shreve was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Santana. He also received the Guitar Center's first annual Lifetime Achievement Award in 2005. Todd Cochran. Todd Cochran's career continued to see many radical musical shifts in direction as he wrote, produced, performed keyboards, guitar and slash or synthesizer programming for a widely diverse number of artists, including Aretha Franklin, Eminem Maynard Ferguson, Juan Carlos Quintero, Stuart Copeland, Peter Gabriel, and Grover Washington. He was a member of Fuse One, a coalition of jazz musicians who released 2 albums on CTI Records in 1980 and 1981. Since 2000, Cochran has been primarily establishing himself as a film composer, as well as re-engaging with classical composition, which he had explored at the start of his musical career. His first full soundtrack was for Doug McHenry's TV movie Keep the Faith, Baby from 2002, a portrait of the black senator Adam Clayton Powell. In 2004, he composed the music for the critically acclaimed Woman Thou Art Loosed, an adaptation of Bishop T.D. Jakes' self-help novel. It won the Best Film Award at the American Black Film Festival. In 2006, Robert L. Watt, assistant principal French horn with the Los Angeles Philharmonic, commissioned Todd Cochran to to write a musical composition in memory of Miles Davis. This resulted in a piece called Missing Miles, a suite for horn and piano. Film director Kim Bass made a 13-minute film, also called Missing Miles, which chronicled the creation of the composition and a performance of the work. In the Feb 2007 issue of Film Music magazine called Ebony and Ivory, The Door Only Swings One Way focused on how Black composers often only get offered Black films. In the article, Todd referenced the limitations placed on Black composers by the entertainment world. Two people can go through the same training, the same schools, and reach the same level of ability. And as soon as they step out of the schools and come to Hollywood, one is a Black composer and the other is just a composer. Unfortunately, the need for African American film composers to deconstruct the existing stereotypes of musical aesthetic limitations persists. Pat Thrall. Thrall went on to work in the fusion field with musicians including Naroda Michael Walden and Alphonso Johnson. In 1978, Thrall was chosen from 70 auditioning guitarists for the co-lead spot with Pat Travers. He recorded on 3 LP with Travers, Heat in the Street, Go for What You Know, and Crash and Burn. The latter LP featured the FM hit Snortin' Whiskey, which Thrall co-wrote with Travers. He won Best New Guitar Player in the 1980 Guitar Player magazine Readers' Poll. In 1987, he recorded and toured with Bruce Springsteen guitarist and producer Little Steven Van Sant. 1988 found Thrall touring with Jack Bruce of Cream fame. Thrall later joined Asia and played lead guitar for a resurgent Meat Loaf during the 1990s. He has also recorded with Beyoncé, Elton John, Tina Turner, and Dave Stewart, to name a few. Thrall has also lent his talent and support behind causes such as Nelson Mandela's Foundation to Fight AIDS in Africa. Thrall was nominated for a Grammy on Beyoncé's Crazy in Love. He was also nominated for 2 Grammys on Frank Ocean's Channel Orange album. Thrall's most acclaimed work, Post Travers, is undoubtedly the Hughes/Thrall album from 1982, featuring Glenn Hughes on vocals and bass. A fusion of rock/synth/metal/pop, it is now considered a musician's favorite, going virtually unnoticed by the public at the time. Hughes and Thrall worked together on and off for the next 15 years and planned on releasing Hughes/Thrall 2 in 2004, but Thrall's full-time work as a producer for other artists and Hughes' touring and recording schedule proved to be too much for them to complete the album. Donny Harvey. Harvey went on to do session and live gigs in many different arenas both in Northern California. His credits include backing Clarence Clemons and replacing Alan Holdsworth as the guitarist in Gone for a Spell. In 1988, he joined the San Francisco-based world music band, the Caribbean All-Stars, as guitarist and backing vocalist. Harvey has been playing with the Caribbean All-Stars for over 2 decades. He currently helms the group Donny Harvey and Deeper Shade of Blue, and together with fellow musicians C's and Andy Johnson, formed the Unemployed Blues Band. Donny also became a permanent member of his brother's band Riggy Harvey's Example, the latter of whom died on April 25. Donny himself died on June 6, 2011. Jerome Rimson. Rimson continued working steadily with Van Morrison until 1984 and still works with him intermittently. He played bass on the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band soundtrack for the Notorious Bee Gees movie. He also collaborated extensively with Thin Lizzy's Phil Lynott, and together they produced the first independent single ever released by a Dublin-based band called Blue Russia, released on Vixen Records in Ireland in 1983. Rimson has played or sang on albums for Steve Winwood, Don Oven, Topper Headon, formerly of The Clash, Ron Rosing, the drummer of the Smashing Pumpkins, and many others. He now lives in Cork, Ireland, teaching master classes on music production and theory. He has finished his autobiography, Renegade, which he describes as his life experiences in the biz and the countless people he has met on his journey, including Phil Lynott's last years, from rock and roll on the road to his life now in Ireland. Glenn Simmons. From his base in L.A., Simmons continued to tour and record with many diverse musical groups including Steve Perry, John Clemmer, Elvin Bishop, Dave Mason, Duncan Sheik, and Etta James. It was in 1986, while touring with the Untouchables, he once again joined forces with Eddie Money and has been drumming for him for over 2 decades. Now, based out of Nashville, Glenn Simmons described himself as a drummer, guitarist, singer, songwriter, teacher, father. Remastered CD. In 2004, Cherry Red released, under their UK-based Lemon subsidiary, a remastered version of Automatic Man. There has been controversy on the internet as to whether the original master tapes were used or not used by Lemon UK in the remastering process. Tom Carr of Progressive World gave the disc a 5-star rating in his review. People have a strong desire and urge to categorize things, to put them in boxes, to place this with that, and make order out of disorder. Music is one of those things we have to make sense of to understand. How can some obscure band be so important? They are very, very good at what they do. This isn't a progressive rock band, is it? Yes, they are, absolutely. If a visionary assemblage of influences and the power of moving music forward are progressive, and for the purposes of this review I will say it is, then this is fine progressive rock indeed. And no, in the sense of Automatic Man fitting into a preconceived subgenre of progressive rock as understood now is concerned, then no, they are not a prog band. But they are much, much more than any label given them could describe. This San Francisco band had strong elements of spacey synthesizer-driven progressive. Definitely. They could just as well be described as a hard-rocking funk band as well. Both are true. Neither is accurate. No group I can think of so defies categorization as does Automatic Man. Due to the overwhelming success of Automatic Man's re-release on compact disc, Lemon Recordings also re-released Visitors in 2005. Discography Albums. Automatic Man 1976, Island Records US chart position no. 75. Visitors 1977, Island Records US chart position number 149. US chart singles. My Pearl 1977, no. 97,